Life now feels constantly connected, yet genuine human contact is becoming thinner, precisely where health and meaning depend on it most. Digital convenience can expand our reach, but it cannot fully replace the experience of being seen, heard, and physically present with others. When strong ties weaken, the loss is evident not only in mood but also in memory, stress, trust, and recovery. John McColgan's story begins the argument, because his network of devoted friends did what money and waiting lists could not. 4 people offered him a kidney, an astonishing result that grew from years of in-person loyalty and mutual presence. That story sets the stakes because ordinary survival often depends on who will show up when life becomes frightening. Behind that practical help lies a larger claim that human beings are built for contact that happens in real time. Loneliness is not treated here as a private mood alone, but as a bodily alarm with real consequences. You will see how close contact shapes illness, longevity, learning, family life, adolescence, trust, marriage, and work. This summary of the Village Effect by Susan Pinker invites you to subscribe to the channel for more ideas worth testing in daily life. Close relationships protect health by delivering information, practical help, and emotional steadiness, especially when illness makes life confusing. Sylvie Lafontaine kept swimming, helping friends, and staying connected to several circles while living through breast cancer. Her case illustrates a broader pattern, showing that support is not just decoration around treatment, but a key part of resilience. 3 forms of support are evident here: guidance, material assistance, and the calming effect of caring presence. These benefits matter because supportive contact lowers destructive stress chemistry and strengthens the body's capacity to recover. Studies show that women with breast cancer and richer networks were more likely to survive. Even weak ties can matter by connecting a patient to surgeons, trials, information, and competent help. Isolated female rats developed far more breast tumours than those housed in groups, as studies discussed here show. The point is not magical thinking, but that bodies respond differently when connection or isolation becomes a daily condition. Health becomes easier to protect when people nearby notice trouble early and turn concern into timely, practical action. Longevity here is not explained by a miracle food or secret supplement hidden in a remote landscape. It is explained partly by the dense social fabric of Sardinian villages, where old age remains a communal project. Centenarians are surrounded by children, neighbours, regular visitors, and shared routines that make isolation difficult to sustain. Older people are not pushed to the edges there because conversation, care, and usefulness remain built into ordinary life. Helping others is treated as part of the mechanism, not merely a charming cultural side note. Reciprocal care releases immediate comfort and also reinforces norms that keep older people visible and supported. Women matter especially because they often maintain the ties, visits, meals, and practical coordination that hold the village together. Genes may matter, but longevity is not reduced here to heredity alone. The deeper claim is that survival improves when belonging is stable, expected, and renewed through repeated contact. Long life looks less accidental when a whole community keeps people woven into daily exchange, from youth through frailty. Networks not only spread kindness, but also transmit moods, habits, fear, and permission through repeated contact. Research suggests that obesity, smoking, drinking, and teen pregnancy can spread along social pathways. While these findings are treated cautiously, they still argue that in-person ties shape what people copy and accept. Friends often mirror each other's eating habits not through mystical influence, but through ordinary closeness and shared situations. Tightly bonded groups can also transmit distress, as a cluster of girls with tics painfully illustrates. The girls were not pretending. Their symptoms spread through common stress, synchrony, and mutual emotional exposure. The argument broadens here by showing that contact is powerful, whether the outcome is healthy or harmful. What matters is not the contact itself, but the behaviours and feelings circulating through specific groups. The lesson is sobering because humans are porous to each other, especially when bonds are emotionally charged. Once connection is seen as a force that carries patterns, prevention can start meaningfully earlier than relying solely on individual willpower. Eating together is important because shared meals focus attention, make conversations routine, and highlight belonging. Family dinners are protective primarily because they provide in-person interaction, not because of the food on the table. Longitudinal studies have shown that adolescents who regularly share meals tend to have lower depression, delinquency, and substance abuse later in life. Another study found that frequent family meals predicted stronger cohesion and healthier personal habits years later. Meals also teach language as children share stories, explain events, ask questions, and learn the rhythm of conversation. While the exact style varies across cultures, the key feature is reciprocal conversation that keeps children socially included. Food thus becomes more than nutrition. The dinner table quietly teaches timing, empathy, and confidence in speaking. Shared meals also reduce the likelihood that family members will retreat to separate rooms and screens. The deeper point is simple. Repeated low-drama rituals can have significant developmental effects. For more grounded ideas about daily rituals and connection, subscribe to the channel and continue building them in your daily life. Human brains begin social learning through touch, voice, gaze, imitation, and the felt safety of another body nearby. Older advice that discouraged comfort is contrasted here with newer evidence showing that affection protects development. Pediatric guidance now treats healthy relationships as biological protection, not as a sentimental extra added after serious care. Infants, for example, preserved sensitivity to Mandarin sounds through live exposure, but not through television or audio. This result supports the claim that learning is gated by social interaction, rather than content alone. Reading aloud works similarly because a child on a lap receives language, emotional regulation, and shared attention together. Skin-to-skin contact also matters, especially for newborns whose stress systems settle through close physical presence. Screens can display information, but lack the full human signal carried by live responses. Babies do not merely need stimulation, they need responsive people whose expressions and timing organize experience. Early care shapes later capacity because the social brain is built inside repeated moments of warm, coordinated contact. For children, the issue with heavy screen use is not just its novelty, but what it replaces in their daily lives. A clear class divide in media use is evident, with poorer children often spending far more hours with screens. This additional screen time can mean less adult interaction, fewer books, and fewer opportunities to practice expressive language. Some toddlers exposed to large amounts of television may show more language delays, especially when adults are not conversing much. Programs like Reach Out and Read work by encouraging parents and children to engage in shared attention around books. The broader point is that development improves when adults directly engage with children instead of relying on devices. School learning follows the same logic, as skilled teachers still matter more than technology in the classroom. Laptops sometimes helped only when teacher training and in-person teaching practices also improved. A great teacher can significantly alter achievement, behaviour, and long-term outcomes in ways that technology alone has not matched. Children benefit most when tools remain within human relationships rather than replacing the adults who guide them. Teenagers might appear socially saturated online, yet constant connection can still deepen loneliness and strain. One student sent and received an astonishing number of texts, staying connected across school, travel, practice, and homework. While that volume might feel social, shallow exchanges do not always lead to the kind of conversation adolescents truly need. Teens who seek strangers online often feel lonelier afterward, especially if they were already struggling. Depressed teenagers also leave recognizable online traces, posting late at night and referring heavily to themselves. Families are affected too, as one study found that many never shared the same room at home. Children often end up alone together, each absorbed in separate devices while proximity loses its old social value. The risk is not every screen, but the replacement of emotionally rich contact by endless low-depth checking. For adolescents, that can weaken empathy, sleep, attention, privacy, and the ability to tolerate difficult, direct conversation. Being reachable all day may have quietly made real companionship harder to build and sustain. Love and work both rely on honest signals that travel best through bodies, voices, timing, and shared physical space. Good marriages protect health by reducing stress and expanding each partner's social world. Commitment matters because deciding to build a life together is fundamentally different from merely falling into convenience and inertia. Women often appear especially vulnerable to unresolved conflict, while men benefit greatly when they can confide in their wives. Religious communities and close groups can foster a sense of belonging by coordinating behaviour and making trust easier to read. However, the same group trust can be exploited as demonstrated by cases of affinity fraud and business deception. In workplaces, sociometric badges capture signals of mimicry, activity, influence, and consistency, which people read automatically. These honest signals helped predict cohesion, leadership, interviews, negotiations, and the productivity of teams solving complex problems. Email remains valuable for weak ties and simple information sharing, but complex issues often progress more quickly in person. The recurring point is that trust grows strongest when people can read one another beyond mere words. Nostalgia is not the answer here. The village effect does not require moving to a mountain hamlet. It requires building circles of repeated in-person contact that can carry help, trust, and recognition over time. Technology remains useful for extending relationships, but it works best when it supports contact rather than replacing it. The practical task is to keep showing up for meals, visits, calls, classrooms, teams, neighbourhoods, and care. This means protecting everyday rituals that, though ordinary, quietly shape health, memory, happiness, and resilience. It also means valuing weak ties for information and strong ties for comfort, accountability, and recovery. The strongest insight here is that social life is not background decoration around real life, but part of its machinery. When people are repeatedly seen and answered, their bodies calm down and their worlds become more livable. So the village effect begins wherever regular presence turns a scattered crowd into people who reliably matter to one another. If you want more thoughtful summaries that turn research into usable daily practice, subscribe to the channel and stay close to the next one.